We're going to start to talk about alien disclosure because this is a topic that is actually quite relevant at this day and time, in this day and time, because not too long ago, the US government actually officially, greetings sister, Rahubat, released the UFO files. Just to manage your expectations for today, this is the agenda. So we will be opening. So the housekeeping is, if you have a phone, please put it on mute or turn it off if you don't want us to get distracted or disturbed. The chant, we just did the chant. So, okay, the housekeeping, the toilets are upstairs for all newcomers, right at the back. If you want to ask a question, if you don't mind just waiting whilst I cover some of the topic for class, write your questions down or just make a note of them so that when you have the opportunity you can ask. Once I've kind of covered some of the material for today, I will probably be doing a series of these, this particular title, because there's so much information that I don't think we're going to be able to get through it in one class. So there may be a part 2, 3, 4. So when we chant, the chant is our way of invoking our ancestors, because we, in our culture, we do nothing before we ask, for them, for their guidance and so forth. Okay, so we just did the chant, and what the chant says is in our language, because of course a culture is nothing without its own language. So the tones you heard today was Miss Batia. It's known by many names such as Nuapic, Sabaic, and it's the language that was first spoken on this planet. And as it relates to the topic of today, it came from our ancestors from the stars. And it was spoken and is spoken in other parts of the galaxy, such as, and other planets such as Mars, etc., as well as obviously coming from Risk and Orion, or what Risk and Orion star constellation, as well as the Sirius star constellation. And it's an affirmation. In our language, we say Partakyud. And so it starts off by saying Na'ut Mugdad Baded Pata, Na'ut Muklas Baded Yanun, which translates as no God except Pata, no Savior except Yanun. Okay, let me bring up Rahubat Zamal Takudzwa. I'm bringing you up on stage so you can moderate, please. Sa'at. Right, so then Patakyod, it says Anuki Jawef Pa Ashuk Empa Paut, which is I am in the divine love of the all expanding. Wu Kalal Ashuk Kawun Jawef Neya, and all divine love is in me. Anuki Kasam Un Empa Paut, I am a part of the all expanding. Wu Pa Paut Kawun Kasam Un Emneya, and the all expanding is a part of me. Anuki Wahu, Ame Pa Paut, I am one as the all expanding. Wu Pa Paut Kawun Wahu Ame Neya, and the all expanding is one as me. Nakuk Kador Najor Ame Kasam Empa Paut, I can succeed as a part of the all expanding. Wu Khabub Ame Mushkast and fell as an individual person. Nakuk Kador Kawan Kalal Pafaf Nakuk Dayor Jawef Pa Paut, I can be all that I want in the all expanding. Ame wase ame dayorni kawun lakay bakoy jawef Pa Paut, as long as my want is to stay in the all expanding. Anuki yabed bi nafashni, I am never by myself. Pa Paut kawun anuki, the all expanding is I am. Pa Pa'ut Kador Nakuk Kador, the all-expanding can, I can. Pa Pa'ut Amul Nakuk Amul, the all-expanding does, I do. All right, so that's our affirmation. Some useful resources for newcomers and those who don't take the time to go through these resources. They're on the screen for you. So I already mentioned the UnitedSabiansWorldwide.com, which is our official worldwide website. We have a new site for the new outlet that we're resurrecting here in the London, UK, in Brixton. And that website is nishatbrixton.com, as well as our current website, which is nishat.co.uk. The connect page connects you to all like the schedule that we have for our classes and so on. All right. Right. So by way of an introduction, the master teacher, Partner Bab Yanun, he is the person you see in the posters around, and he is more than you can think. Any title you can think about in your mind, that's who he is. And we can explore that as we progress through the class today. So, the title is Alien Disclosure. The President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, recently, as you can see from the slide, dropped a shocker. They say he drops UFO shocker. Aliens, can you believe it? So if you can look and see, right, you can't really see it, but I'll read it. So he said, based on the tremendous interest shown, I will be directing the Secretary of War, which used to be the Department of Defense, and other relevant departments and agencies to begin the process of identifying and releasing government files related to alien and extraterrestrial life, unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP, and unidentified flying objects, UFOs. That's what was customary known before they changed it to UAP, and any and all other information connected to these highly complex but extremely interesting and important matters. And then he says, God bless America, which is quite funny. So this was before he dropped the files on May the 8th, yeah, 2026.
Oh, it dropped on May the 8th?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Which is very significant for us, because that's the same day they kidnapped the master teacher, our master teacher, Partner Bab Yanun. And they're talking in 2026 about disclosing the fact that UFOs and UAPs exist. Okay, so now you look on social media and there is a frenzy. Everyone is now talking about, you know, they're showing pictures with him with aliens, some aliens in handcuffs, and, you know, but they're like, how late are they? Because Partner Bab Yanun has, from the time he arrived and officially opened the Seventh Seal in 1970, he was telling us he's an extraterrestrial from the planet Risk. And most people were ridiculing and, you know, making fun of him saying that. Yeah, him saying that. People were saying, oh, you know, it's not real. But a lot of people were afraid to say or talk about extraterrestrials. or UFOs or now UAPs. Yeah, so the religious world completely didn't address it at all. And so now he's saying, Donald Trump, he's saying that UFOs and UAP exist. I'm just going to show you some books because we're going to touch on some of these books throughout the class and maybe the upcoming parts. This is known as Is God an Extraterrestrial? That's one of the books. I've got, these actually come from Roswell.
Oh, Russell,
Yeah, from the Roswell crash. This is when you go there, they do like visits, and you can get these when you go there. So we'll touch on that. We'll touch on the Roswell. So I'm just going to run through some of the material that we'll be looking into as this course goes on. The Man from Planet Risk. There's a bulletin here that we had from, this is from 1992. And it says, The Savior. I'm showing you all this because when we tell people that he came on the scene telling us, and you look at the back, you see most of the pictures you see a craft, right? You will always see a craft because, you know, he's an extraterrestrial that came to this planet as a visitor. And we'll go into what his purpose is here. The Akasha records, yeah. Some people may know this in religion as where all the records of all the information is stored that we access. Some of us have more access to certain files than other. This scroll, okay, this is called Intelligent Design, Divine Design or Plot of Aliens, okay, very important for this class. We have this Master Secret, Designer Genes, because when we start going into who you are, what we are, you're composed of many genes, and you start to deal with genetics and alien involvement. This is Mission Earth and extraterrestrial involvement. All of these books are going back to the 90s, some before that. This is another one, Shambhala and Agatha, Cities Within the Inner Earth, because there are extraterrestrials that live in the inner earth. Many people have visited there and have spoken and met some of them. All right, so the year 2000 and what to expect, this was giving us a lot of information about what was going to be taking place and happening in the future when this first came out, again in the 90s. Okay, so we can go on and on because he has authored over 1,000 books covering every subject you can think of, because most of the books are written from questions that people ask. For example, this one, right? So the question here is, are there UFOs, extraterrestrials, in your midst? And again, this is going back to, I'm trying to see if there's a date on it, but most of this, 1995, okay? We have the receipts. So everything we're saying now, or what the world is going to come to realize, or that they're starting to disclose, is something we've been trying to talk to people and tell them and prepare you for a very long time. And it's only just starting. You know, he's only released, I think, the first batch, or maybe now the second batch of what's going to be coming out, which we have known and we're going to go into and talk about throughout this workshop. And there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions on the topic, as well as any questions you have about anything that is in your mind, or that, you know, you've heard about, or you've always had questions that you can't get answered elsewhere, because, you know, we are here to answer all those questions that nobody else can answer. And by that, we were known as the Ansarullah community. So let's move on. If I could go back to my slides. Okay, so tour. All right, one second. I thought, hold on one second, please. If your question's going to take me off topic, I'll have to save it till the end. But wow, there's so many people waiting. Give me 1 second. I've got to let all these people in. Oh, sure, I can definitely do that. Let me just make a few people host so they can assist me. I think this is being recorded anyway, so you'll get a chance to hear it back on YouTube. Rahul about everyone on TikTok, by the way. Where is he? I hope you guys are feeling good. We just had another workshop. This is why we were slightly a bit late than usual today. We had the each one teach one. Healthy, nutritional, vegan meals for those that are transitioning from eating flesh and just trying to live and have a better lifestyle. Okay, there we go. Right, he's done, yeah? Anyone else? Do I need to make host?
Myself.
Okay, tour. I hope you guys are enjoying the weather that we're having at the moment here in the UK. It's a rare occurrence, so when we get it, make the most of it, because most of us are deficient in vitamin D. I know I am. So definitely make the most of it whilst it lasts. Okay, right, so I'm going to go over the books again because someone said that we lost sound. So the classic, which I will be reading from, or an excerpt from shortly, The Man from Planet Risk. Okay, so when we're talking about disclosure and the US government and the world now are starting to come to that realization, they're being compelled, to be honest, because we always knew this day was going to come. The master teacher told us, like, you may think I'm crazy now, but the time is going to come. Sorry, I just showed the book and didn't say what it was. Is God an extraterrestrial? And I know my sister at the back has some questions about aliens, and we will say, see, most of these books, as you hear the titles, you should see there's a question mark at the end. Is God an extraterrestrial? So it's a question, open for discussion. And because at that time, right, I'm just going to run through the books again. At that time, most people, that kind of a question was like, are you nuts? You know? But we're living in a day and time people had to catch up with us. The year 2000 and what to expect. Shambhala and Agatha, cities within the earth, because these aliens or extraterrestrials do live on this planet, inside the seas or the oceans, in the caverns on the earth, and in the skies. All right, I'm just making sure. This is, are there UFOs, extraterrestrials in your midst? This was published before and revised in 1995. I also mentioned Mission Earth and the extraterrestrial involvement. Okay, so Mission Earth and the extraterrestrial involvement, because when you say the word planet, you literally can hear Plan ET. Plan ET. It's an extraterrestrial plan. So this was seeded by many different extraterrestrials. I mentioned designer genes, because now the technology is about DNA and how they're creating designer babies and manipulating DNA. Okay, I also touched on these social media platforms. Right, this is Plot of Aliens, sorry, Intelligent Design, Divine Design, or Plot of Aliens. Yeah. Live visibility restricted. Yeah, they're trying to stop our message going out, but it will never stop. What else did I? Okay, I touched on the Akasha records. All right, that's another major scroll. Okay, if I've missed anything out, re-watch the video on the replay. Right, let me make co-host. All right, can all my co-hosts and admins please keep an eye on the people coming in the room, because I get engrossed in the topic and I forget to check that people are waiting to come in. So I'll really appreciate love if you guys could take care of that for me. Tawuat. Okay, so back to the slides. Right, so Yanun, the alien. So when they show you, in fact, let me go back to my very first slide if I can. In fact, no, don't worry. I'm going to come back to it. In this disclosure, they show you, give me 1 second. I just want to show you. I'm going to go back to my first slide and then come back to this. They've decided to let you know that the four, if you can see over there, the four, in fact, let me get a better picture of that. Let me give you a better picture. Relax, we're gonna walk through this slowly because there's a lot. It's a lot to take in, especially if it's new to you. So just stay with me. I'm doing this in real time, so bear with me. In my previous life, I was a IT guru, so I like to do things in real time. Okay, I want to show you a better pic. There you go, a better picture of those four aliens that they've decided to tell you about. Okay, here we go. Right. So let's go. Right, so these four aliens are the ones in the report that Donald Trump has released that they've decided to tell you about. You can find throughout all the books that I've just mentioned, and that's just a snippet of the books that we have, all these extraterrestrials that they're telling you about. They say they definitely can tell you that there are four types. The greys, which are the small ones over there in the corner. The small, big eye, big head, the ones that everybody seems to see or visit. And then there are so many species of those greys anyway, because they have, you can't keep an account right now of the different species or amount of extraterrestrials, because they're constantly mixing and different hybrids are being created all the time. All right, so they tell you about the greys. These are the ones that mutilate all the animals. You remember there was a time where mutilations of cows and certain crop circles and things like that were constantly being talked about. There was a famous one here in England, in Yorkshire, which, let me see, I'll show you if it's in, it's normally, it was in our books. The first time, there you go. This crop circle here, known as the tetrahedron. I don't know if you guys can see that. Yeah, that one. All right. So we know what that is. So then they tell you about this Nordics. The Nordics, or the blonde hair, blue eye beings that were in contact with people like Hitler. This is where the whole kind of concept of Jesus with the blonde hair and blue eye comes from, because these Pleiadians are the ones that passed themselves off as those gods, and they were the ones that grafted the Adamites. Then you got the insectoids, We speak about those also as the mantis beings. Then, of course, the reptilians, which are now being shown on most social media and TVs, right? So there's different species of reptilians. Again, there's a reptilian right there on the front of the cover of that scroll, okay? And this goes again back to, see what date this one was, if there's a date, but it's in the 90s, early 90s. Okay, so any questions so far? Go ahead. Please use the mic. Say it. As long as it's not too off topic, because I really do want to get through.
No, it's not off topic.
Okay, go ahead.
It's okay. You said the Pleiadians
Please
grafted
speak.
the Adamites, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why? What was? Because I
Well-
remember you mentioned the story on why they grafted them, but I don't
That
remember.
mic, I don't think the mic. Tap it, let me hear.
No, it's off.
Okay,
Hello.
that's better. Right, go ahead. Repeat your question.
Yes.
You-
I
Why
wanted
did
to
they
ask-
create the Adamites?
The Adamites, yeah.
For food.
Food against who? Because you said they were being attacked.
There will
by-
be the Pleiadians themselves were being eaten by the reptilians or a species of reptilians known as the Draconians.
And that's which one of those?
Yes, but that's one of the species. But yeah, they were being eaten, so they pled with them to say, like, if we give you something else to eat, would you leave us alone? And they agreed, and they made a deal. And so they grafted them to be slaves or workers, as well as for food. Okay.
And that started with Adam and Eve, the Adamites.
Okay. Well, when you're saying Adam and Eve, in the biblical story, you're given an account as if it's one person or two people, but it's a tribe of people. Because if you read it properly, it says, let us create man in our image and in our likeness. And then it says, create he, them. So it's
Okay.
not one person.
Okay.
But the illusion or the distortion of the story becomes one person who is Adam as a man, and then they lie to you and say that a rib was taken from him to create woman, which already is back to front because everybody comes from a woman, not the other way around. Yeah? All right. The rest of the questions, jot them down and wait till we... But yeah, so going back to Parnabab Yanun,
Yeah, no problem.
so they showed you those 4 extraterrestrials, but you never see or they never talk about the black extraterrestrials. You hear some, bits and pieces, like when people have experiences where they've been abducted or they remote view or they travel interdimensionally or go to different realms, and they tell you that they meet black, tall extraterrestrials. That's because our ancestors that you're seeing on the screen are Tawutak. Oh yeah, this is another classic. Thanks for bringing that. This is extraterrestrials and creation, because what you're calling creation, and everybody always says, oh, God created everything. It was the extraterrestrials that were creating that we're talking about. But yeah, so they don't mention our ancestors who, no matter where you go in the cosmos, whether it's in space, different planets, here on the planet Earth, the Nagaru, or what we call the Negroid, or our ancestors are first. They always have been. You have to take the root or the DNA that already exists to make other things. So if you look at the races on the planet, even though you have what people consider Caucasians, then you have the Asians, or what we say, the Mongoloids. So you've got a Caucasoid, who's the Caucasian, the Mongoloid, who would be your Asians, and then you have the Negroid, which is us. Those are the 3 root races. And now, scientifically, anthropologists have done DNA tests because the Human Genome Project, which around 1953, deciphered the DNA of everyone on the planet. And now they can tell you and pinpoint where you're from, and that's why now people have all these websites like, with, I don't want to say the name, they send their DNA to say, oh, where am I from? And they say you're 20% this, 50% that. But ultimately, the anthropologists are telling you that the original first found in Africa, again, in our book, yeah, Fast Track, yeah, Your Spiritual and Conscious Journey, this is a good resource to have because it's more like a reference book which has, like what I just said, in terms of what has been found by anthropologists, because people talk about Adam and Eve as being the first people, but then the scientific world, what they do, they find and have evidence. You know, evidence is what people that are seeking truth go by, because you can't go to court based on belief. You have to provide evidence. You can't accuse anybody of anything or yourself try to win your case, if you have any case at all, without presenting any evidence. I'm trying to find the page now. In this scroll, I read it such a long time ago, but I've got to, here we go. If you look on, for those who have the scroll, for those who don't, anytime I want to find, maybe I should let you look for it for me. The classification of what has been found in terms of fossils to prove, oh, here you go, right, I've got it. For those who have the scroll, it's on page 30, right, where you have, I'll give you the dates. The first kind of artifact that was found was in 1924 AD, 2.5 million years old, right? And this species is referred to as the Australopithecus africanus. Yeah, that's 2.5 million years ago, found in 1924 AD. Then the second one was 3.2 million years ago, or shall I say 3.2 million years old, in 1974 AD. And that's called Australopithecus afarensis, sorry. The people that find these things tend to name them after themselves or some type of funny title. Then 4.4 million years old, that was found in 1992 AD. That's Ardi, A-R-D-I, yeah? The full title is Ardipithecus ramidus, R-A-M-I-D-U-S. Then in 1997, a 5.2 to 5.8 million years old excavation was found, and that is known as Australopithecus kadaba. That's K-A-D-A-B-B-A. I'm giving you these things because as students, you should be taking notes and writing things down so you can go and verify it and check it out for yourself, so you don't have to take our word or believe us, right? And then you've got, in the year 2000, which was not too long ago, a 6.1 million years old was found, and it's referred to as Aurorin, some of these words, Tugenensis. So if anybody wants to volunteer to pronounce that, grab the mic, please. Or
Well,
someone
just
pass.
for you to repeat those names again, so I
Yeah,
can
yeah,
take the notes and
okay.
the spelling, can you say it backwards?
Okay, I will. So this is the oldest one now, 7.1 million years old. Okay, and that was found in 2002 AD, and that's, got to take a deep breath for this one, Sahelanthropus tekdensis. All right, I'm going to go from the top again. I'm going to spell them out for you. So 2.5 million years old, discovered in 1924 AD. That's Australopithecus africanus. That's spelled Australopithecus and Africanus, Afriknus. Okay, then the second one, 3.2 million years old, 1974 AD. That's when it was discovered. And it's the same again, but the Africanus changes to afarensis. That's Afarensis. All right. Gifting and okay. So the third one, found, not found. It's 4.4 million years old. That was found in 1992 AD, and that's Ardi. You hear a lot of people talking about Ardi, A-R-D-I, but the full name is Aidipithecus, and then the second part to that is Ramidus, R-A.
Sorry, can you spell the first part again, please?
A-R, let me slow down, D-I, just I got so much information to try and get through. A-R-D-I, P-I-T-H, E-C-U-S.
Thank you.
And then the second part to that is R-A-M-I-D-U-S. Okay? Then the next one is 5.2 to 5.8 million years old, and that was discovered in 1997 AD, and that's referred to as Australopithecus cadaver. That's, you should have the first word already by now, because I've spelt that 3 times, and the second part is K-A-D-A-B-B-A. Okay, the fifth one, now this is going back 6.1 million years old, and that was found in the year 2000 AD, and that's Aurorin, that's O-R-R-O-R-I-N T-U-G-E-N-E-N-S-I-S. All right, the last one, 7.1 million years old, and that was discovered in 2002 AD, and that's spelled S-A-H-E-L-A-N-T.
Sorry, could you start please again?
Okay. S-A-H-E-L-A-N-T-H-R-O-P-U-S. Got it?
Yes.
Then the last part of that word is T-C-H-A-D-E-N-S-I-S. So the familiar name that you may know these by, especially the one that was found in 1974, or estimated to have lived 3.2 million years, that's Lucy. You hear the term Lucy, yeah? And then the one that I mentioned, 5.2 to 5.8 million years old, that's Ardi. You can find those two quite easily. Right, so the whole point of me mentioning that is the Bible and the stories of the Bible and the monotheistic religions, it's only 6,000 years old. So if life began with just Genesis and what it says, and if the Bible is only 6,000 years old, but the scientists are finding things that are going back 7.1 million years old, that should tell you that that Bible is so tiny in terms of what it knows and the information. Okay? But anyway, Yanun and our ancestors are from different parts of the cosmos, and Yanun comes from a planet which is on there known as Risk. Yeah, it's the 8th planet in a galaxy known as Ilion, and that star system is a tri-solar system, meaning that it has 3 suns. So here on the planet, we are part of a solar system that has one sun or one major sun, and the planets rotate around that one. Okay, so when he was saying this back then, saying where he comes from, people were saying that he's crazy. There's no such place. And then later on, obviously, scientists started to discover tri-solar systems. So he's known as Yanun, who's the 19th elder. And those other beings you see are also Riskians. Okay, so I'm going to read something from Man from Planet Risk, because the title of the book is talking about him and him being the man from Planet Risk, an extraterrestrial. So the disclosure, we had disclosure from 1945, because when was he born?
1945.
Cool. Someone's paying attention. I know this is quite a serious topic, but you got to stay with it. He's been known by many titles: the man of many faces, and the man of the hour. This Man from Planet Risk is such an informative scroll, because it was telling us about some of the stuff we're going to find out more about in the coming months as they start to release more and more UFO files. Okay, he was talking about cloning and all of that back then. Okay, I think it's page 23. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Right, so on page 23, I'm not going to read the whole scroll, obviously. There's a question put to him, and the question says, you have been teaching on disputable facts for over 25 years. Obviously, that was back then. How did you manage to learn and teach so much information for the amount of years you have? Because he was in his 20s then. He says, answer, I am a being from the 19th galaxy called Yanun. We have been coming to this planet before it had your life form on it. I manifest into this body to speak through this body. I am an entity, an etheric being. We watched the 3 other cycles of 18,000 years. 2 moons and 1 sun, which is part of your 24,000 year cycle, the equinox. So the 24,000 year cycle is, if you split it in the middle with like a cross, so you have 4 quarters, it's a sun cycle, sun cycle, moon cycle, which each one is 6,000 years. And then it makes one complete rotation, and then the cycle begins again. So where he's saying that we watched the 3 other cycles of 18,000 years, he's saying that, you know, you went from that sun cycle to that moon cycle to that sun cycle. And then the last one, which is the moon cycle that we've just come to an end from, which led, remember I said the Bible's only 6,000 years old. So that last quarter is where the Bible and all these books and religions came in. And so from that 4004 roughly to the year 2000 AD was the end of that last 6,000 years. So anyway, he says, which is part of your 24,000 year cycle, the equinox, the removal of the dust cloud from the light to dark, from light to darkness, then to light again. So he says, I incarnated into this realm from time to time. My incarnation as an Illa Mutajasid, all right? Or Avatara. Now that picture you see in the middle with him holding the staff, right? That's when he came, and the word Illa Mutajasid is an Arabic word for an avatar, right? Or an incarnation, a being that incarnate. And then what did they made? They made a movie, The Avatar, kind of showing you the same thing. Okay, so he says, my incarnation as Anila Mutajasid or Avatara was originally in the year 1945 AD. That's why I said our disclosure goes back to 1945. And in 2026 is when they're starting to tell you and admit that UFOs are real, extraterrestrials are real, they've found bodies, and people are coming out and talking about it. All the whistleblowers, all the people that were working in the government projects and people that were working in Area 51, etc. The Roswell incident, which we're going to touch on. So it says, in order to get here, I traveled by one of the smaller passenger crafts called Sham, out of a mother plane called the Makaba or Nibiru. Then in 1970 AD, this is what I was saying when he actually started the opening of the seventh seal. He says, was my time to come in flesh to start my work of breaking the spell of sleep, also called the spell of Leviathan. And remember, again, this book is called Leviathan. There are parts 4, this thick each. And this one here, as you can see, yeah, the picture on the front is the picture of Donald Trump, a younger version of Donald Trump. Again, this book was written way, way before Donald Trump came into office. So this is to demonstrate to you the avatar, the alien Pa Nabab Yanun. Anyway, so it says, in 1970 AD, it was my time to come in flesh to start my work of breaking the spell of sleep also called the spell of Leviathan or Kingu. The moon spell or lunatic state of mind with the power as the sun. So when you hear the people going crazy and the word is lunatic, the word lunar is moon, dealing with the moon cycle, okay? Lunatic state of mind with the power as the son of righteousness. If you go back and read Malachi chapter 4 verse 2, that's referring to this new sun cycle that started in the year 2000 AD. It says, Earth astronomers thought it was a comet, which they called Bennett, that appeared on March 16, 1970 AD, 4 months before my 25th birthday. Like I said, he was in his 20s then. Birthday, June 26, 1970 AD, the opening of the seventh seal, which marked the beginning of the Aquarian age. An astrophysicist named Ricardo Ciccone sent up a satellite from Kenya in Africa in the year 1970 AD to study X-rays in the sky for 3 years, trying to map our coming. The satellite was called Uhuru, which in the African language called Swahili is freedom. Swahili is made up from 2 different languages called Bantu and Arabic. That was a language created for the slave trade that occurred in Zanzibar between the Arabs, and the scientists were well aware of our coming and called us Benet. I, Yanun, am an Anunnaki, all right? Remember that the word Anunnaki just means those who came down to key, or what you would call, and actually it's important to put things in context because we are now having to go back and revisit things we were teaching people 50 years ago, and we had to go through certain schools at the time, and the Sumerian school was one of those schools where we learned about Anunnaki, and each school we went through, we were submerged in it as if it was us, because like today, a lot of black people think they're in the Bible. They don't realize the story of the Bible is really nothing to do with us. It's the story of the Adamites. But at the time, he had to make you believe and feel like it was part of you, or else you wouldn't listen. Until this day now that we're trying to tell people to come out of it, that it's nothing to do with us, they fight tooth and nail to stay in it, like we did back then. When he came trying to give us Wu Nawat, Wu Sabat, we just kept asking questions about the Bible, Abraham and Moses and Jesus, and we just constantly was so under the spell that he had to put it away, but still intravenously feed us through religion. But anyway, let's carry on. So when you're hearing Anunnaki and things like that, you have to put it in its proper context that that was back then when we thought we were the Anunnaki. Anyway, so it says, what you call an extraterrestrial, extra, terra, astral. Look at this extra meaning in addition to, terra, of the earth, astral, of or from the stars. I am what you call an angelic being, an Elohim, from the planet Risk, from the 8th planet called Risk, which has one moon, Shishki, of its own. This galaxy, the 19th galaxy called Ilion, originally referred to as heaven, known as Elysium. And now they've made a movie called Elysium. Go and watch that movie, right? In Greek, has 3 suns. One, those are the 3 suns you see on the screen, right? They're known by different names. 1, Shamash, 2, Utu, 3, Apsu. This is the names the Sumerians call them, which means a tri-solar system with 38 moons and 19 planets, each with its own number of moons. I have incarnated here in this form to act as a human being for the sole purpose of saving the children of the Elohim, at that time Anunnaki, the Banat, which is the same word as Bennett, the chosen 144,000, just as Mary of 2,000 years ago was chosen by the Most High Anu, called an alien, which is Ali and En, and both of which are names for Anu, to breed the holy thing called Yeshua, or Jesus' real name, Tammuz, called Horus. So too, the Banat will breed the Savior of this day and time if they hold firm to the rope on your planet Earth. The planet Earth is also referred to as Orb, Ard, Ardut, Ki, Terra, or even Tiwawa, and Tamtu, meaning maiden of life. However, it was originally called Tamat. I, Yanun, have come to save the children of the Elohim, now we say Natharu, from being killed as you bring your planet near to what could be its total destruction. Some of the destruction of the planet is caused by the warming up of the globe because of the excessive amounts of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which is helping to melt the polar caps, the polar ice caps. This is called the entropy effect, which is raising the water level all over the globe. All right, entropy is a property of matter used by scientists in connection with thermodynamics, which is the study of heat and work. So the entropy of a substance increases whenever the energy it possesses to do work decreases. For example, steam entering into a turbine has a low degree of entropy because it can do work by moving the turbine shaft. After moving the shaft, the energy of the steam has decreased, and thus its entropy has increased. All right, I'm going to stop there, but again, read the whole scroll for yourself. And what does that mean when we're talking about that entropy effect? It means that on the planet right now, if the majority of people are negative or they're creating negative energy, the vibrations from that causes the planets, because the planet is rotating around the sun, but it also has its own spin known as nutation. So it has a nutation rate, yeah? It's, you know, like when you spin a top on the table, even though it's kind of wobbling, but imagine that was also on an orbit. Anyway, so that's what Anabab Yanun, the alien, is here. That also ties into, I'm going to read another little excerpt. If you have a burning question, like at any point, if something is really like you want to say it, just say it. But I'm going to read a little bit from the Akasha records, where it goes into how he became aware of who he is even more as he was, and this also ties into the whole Roswell, which I'm going to touch on as well.
I have a question.
Sure.
Before you start.
Go ahead.
So when it comes to Baba Yanun, right, before he came to what he was supposed to be, what did his parents have to do or go through for them to be chosen to carry that specific child?
It's not so much as what they had to go through, but they picked him based on the lineage of the bloodline.
Of his parents?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the bloodline?
There's a book called The Decision. Not The Decision. What's the book called?
Proof.
No. We have it upstairs. The one that has his lineage at the front. It's not the proof. The guidance. Yeah, it's called a guidance. If you read that, you will see the whole bloodline, because his bloodline ties all the way back to the noble family. This is why anyone who comes on the planet or comes on the scene and claims to be a savior or someone, yeah, you have to be able to trace their bloodline. And so people like, for example, Haile Selassie, who a lot of people look at and say, oh, they gave him that title of being the conquering lion of Judah, blah, blah, blah. When you trace it, that's the one. When you trace the bloodline, he is not of that divine blood, as controversial as it may sound.
When you say noble family, who are you speaking about?
I'm saying, like, okay, let's say in the Bible, they will give you a lineage of, like, for example, Mary comes from the lineage of David. Yeah. Yeah, it's right there. Let me grab it. Yeah, it's a lot of information, and I don't want to digress too much off the topic, but you know, like everyone, you see, like how the Luciferians, like most of the presidents that you see today, going back to the topic of Donald Trump,
Yeah.
they all are related because they maintain a bloodline. So they keep the people in power. They all have to have some type of connection in terms of their family. It's the same with us. When you go back to all the prophets and all the people that you're talking about, there's a bloodline. So, like, for example, Ishmael and who people will call the Israelites, they're actually bloodline, they're related.
Okay.
So the Ishmaelites come by way of Kedar, and Prophet Muhammad, they all come from that bloodline. And as well as the original Israelites, not the, because there are a lot of imposters now. So even like, for example, what people look as those people that are running the world today, they are Jebusites because they're part of the bloodline of Canaan, as the 11 sons of Canaan.
Yeah.
So they're Jebusites, but they try to claim that they're of Judah, but they're not from Judah because they relate to Jebus and the 11 sons of Canaan, who are really like European Russians from, you know, the Khazars and all of that. So they're not the original Jew. They've supplanted themselves in that position. Yeah, so anyway, did you have a question, sis?
I did.
Yeah, go ahead.
Bennett, you mentioned Bennett before.
Yeah.
If you can, can you explain what Bennett is?
Yeah, that's what the satellite, they thought it was a satellite, but it was a craft. But it's a bloodline again, the children. Let me see if I can just go back to it. Yeah, so he actually did explain it. He said that when he arrived in that craft, they thought it was a comet, and they named it Bennett. Okay. So, but then he also went on to say that that word so it's spelled Bennett,
Yeah.
right? But then that word relates to Banaat, right? Which is the same word as Bennett, but that is talking about a particular seed of children of who make up the 144, will make up or make up the 144,000 children that would be chosen and to receive back their powers or their barothry gland. The sister at the back would like to ask a question.
Sorry, do you mind just speaking about the entropy effect again? Just
Okay,
basically-
yeah, all right. So the planet, everything vibrates anyway, no matter how tiny it is or how big it is. So if you're putting negativity, okay, think of a good example. Okay, your being is composed of more liquids than flesh, yeah? So imagine I had water in a glass, and there's been an experiment by Dr. I think is Omoto that's done this experiment, right? The frequency and the energy that you subject that glass of water to will make that water change its form, right? And it's about the vibration and the frequencies. So if you think about the planet and it wobbles, and that's because of the energy on the planet. You have a lot of negative energy and you have a lot of positive energy. So if you subject the planet to a lot of chaos, negativity, murders and violence and all the negative stuff, that those beings that want the planet to have that vibration and the people that are vibrating on that resonance, they're just creating chaos that makes the planet in on calm state, and it can actually make it to the point where it actually can destroy itself. It's like if you put a lot like sound to glass, certain tones can smash the glass. So on the planet, you got these reptilian beings that we mentioned before, and their children, the Luciferians, that they push a lot of negativity, like fast foods, everything's fast, and things that are not natural by natural nature. They've changed the music from natural instruments to like all digital. Everything is by design to feed your disagreeable nature, so you act in a disagreeable state. Now imagine that multiplied by 8 billion people on the planet. So music is constantly being played on the radios, on the TVs, but the people behind the music industry, they know what type of music to push. You see, so all that noise, all that chaos, all that violence, all the wars, all of that is just harming the planet. Whereas if you then change it to the other side, change the polarity, then you be peaceful, calm, eating and treating nature well, so then it will make the planet more healthy. So it's kind of like
So he came
balancing.
So he came to guide us to raise our frequency to
That's right.
balance out
Yeah,
the negative and the positive.
the negative on the planet. And to do that properly, you have to remove the beings that are causing that to happen. And these are the 6 ether forces. And it's not just physical, it's spiritual, mental, physical, all of it all at once. So
But
when
they're all part of the all anyway, so isn't there some form of balance with that?
yeah, but when we say part of the all, that's true. But if we're on this planet, you're not seeing the bigger picture in the cosmos. So it's really about the planet that we're in.
Yeah.
It's like if you think about a microwave, the microwave is contained, and it's not what is outside of it, it's what's inside of it. Those rays that are like when you put what people call, they put flesh into it, and then they use laser to try and heat it up. And all the laser's doing is making those molecules vibrate in a way that the friction is rubbing to create the heat that makes the food appear to be cooked. But all it's doing is killing it, because it's killing all the nutrients, because you're actually using very inflammable.
Microwaves?
Yeah, but there's a term I was looking for. they radiation, that's the word I was looking for, it's harmful radiation. And then all you do is you kill everything that is healthy and natural in the food, and then you eat it. You see, so it's like,
Crazy.
yeah, and these are the types of things where they will make it popular because everyone's thinking, quick, let me just heat the food quick. But before you would take your time and use, gas heat or, you know what I mean, you do it with love and care and everything. Now it's like drive-throughs, everyone's just in a hurry. And because you're constantly in a hurry, they call that the rat race. Because everyone's running around like headless chickens, you're not even stopping to think why you're doing most of the things you're doing, because the spell of Kingu is designed to have you in a lunatic mind state, because you're not really relaxed. If you go back home to like Jamaica or go to Africa or go to the deep south in America where there's a lot of sun, you see everyone, even now when we have the sun, you see the mood changes. People are generally more vibrant, more happy, more calm, and except for those who can't take the sun, because we're now in that time where the sun, as we read, the Son of Righteousness is here to heal those beings, children of the sun, or the Melanite children, which is again another scroll. I don't think I have it here, but those that it will agitate because they can't, they're melanin recessive, so they have to go back into a cooler climate. Like the word Caucasian comes from the Caucasus Mountain, because that's where they had to go with Canaan, who's their father really, to not be burnt and get skin cancer from the sun. And this is what is going on right now, because with what they call the sun cycle coming in, they've been building a lot of malls and indoor, like your Westfields and all these big shopping centers where the climate's controlled. And eventually, when the sun does get hotter, it's going to become unbearable for some people. Even like people get heat strokes and they get melanoma, which is skin cancer. But I know I've kind of gone off a bit, but I hope that helps you, yeah?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know some black people that are really like.
Please use
against the
them.
sun, But,
I was just about to ask that as well.
I wanted to say also.
Yeah, because they're
in-
not knowledgeable about who
Is it
and
on?
what they are.
How do I turn it?
I don't think it's on, just as
Okay.
yeah, there you go.
I also wanted to ask about, you said him being from Planet Risk
Yeah.
and coming to guide us to raise our frequency. So does it also mean that within us, we are also from other planets? And it's
Absolutely.
for us to get
Yeah.
in touch with that aspect of us to help
That's right.
create this entropy effect to balance
Yeah,
things out?
because once you transform, this was called a transformation. When you start to realize what's happening, you will be like, I don't want to eat that anymore. I don't want to eat blood meat. I don't want to go to the churches. I don't want to go to those raves and be out all hours of the night. You stop smoking, you stop drinking, you stop doing certain things that are bad for your being. Not your physical being, even though it is bad for your physical being, but it's more about your internal or the real you. And this is what it's about. So when people come across Wu Sabat, or they hear the master teacher's tone, or they read the scrolls, it activates something in you if you're one of those people. This is why it's not a religion. It's not like you get dipped in water and now you think you're saved and you'll go into a place and that's it. And you just carry on living your life anyway. So that's the way they distort things so people fool themselves, thinking they've got their ticket and they're going to heaven, until that time comes and they realize there is no place like that. You've got to do the work. You've got to decide how you want to transform yourself. And so, yeah, that's what his job is. He's here to help those who would listen transform themselves back into being the gods and goddesses, if we want to use those terms, that you really are. And you are a supreme being, but you just don't know it. So that's why we're here as student teachers of the master teacher to help. All right? Okay, so we've got to keep moving because I can see time's going to slip away. All right, so go back to the slides. So we've been putting out a lot of information about aliens. So, go on OSM Vision. These are just some of the videos that we've covered, especially even though they've shown you only these 4 in their report so far in the files. We already did a video showing you 33, and this is called 33 aliens you need to know and how they relate to humans. But yeah, I wanted to, you guys sidetracked me. I wanted to read from Akasha Records, and from I'm just going to read. This is all to put everything in context as we discuss this alien disclosure. So he says, I'm going to read from page 19, and I'll go from 95, verse 95. It says, as a child, I did not speak one madat, word, or sound before the age of 4 years, 4 months, and on the 4th day. On that day, I spoke for the very first time to the shock of all who thought I was mute. Right? So he says, at age 9, I had my first visit by 4 greys. Right? So we showed you what the greys look like. Krill. Again, on our website, for those, if you want to actually, yeah, I won't digress because I'm gonna run out of time. But on the United Sabians Worldwide website, you see all these aliens and the pictures, or if you watch the video I just mentioned. But anyway, these 3 greys that visited him were called Krill. Krill is male, Sa'at is male, and then there was Aloma, female, right? And he says 98. One Arima, female, was Katula, killed, shot in Kentucky by a white farmer. Then in 99, I met them in New Jersey in the year 1953 AD at age 9. From that date, which I was taken for 3 days and nights and returned. Over the years, they have come to me right up until now. 101, I even have a hybrid Sawatat daughter named Lukhat, who comes and speaks with me when I think of her. 102, well, it is me. What I'm about to tell you is the truth, Sawat, truth. You must let it be known. It is Wakut, time. I know you would doubt this Hakhe story. I know I would if it was not me, myself. I'm going to tell you something I never told anyone. 107. Sorry, I'm skipping the verse numbers, but if you want me to read anything back, just let me try and be more disciplined. 106. I'm going to tell you something I never told anyone. 107. My very first encounter with the Thalu Mukhmeu, the 3 aliens, was October 12th, 1955 AD. I was 10 years old in Teaneck, New Jersey. It was night. I was coming back from Brooklyn, New York, seeing Yassar family. If you remember in 2024, when they were telling you about all these orbs that were being seen by different people, they first saw them in New Jersey, in Teaneck, New Jersey. And then later on, when a lot of people were starting to wake up to the fact of the extraterrestrials or the aliens, they started sending up drones to confuse everyone and say, oh, they're just drones. But that's one of the, I want to go into that, one of the programs that they utilize to do the cover up, because they actually have a whole system where they try to discredit or hide information about ETs. This is going back. And even if you read the Roswell incident, most of the activity of UFOs started around 1945 when he was born, and 1947 was the Roswell case. So around from the 40s, mid 40s is where a lot of these activities started to be known. Right, I'm gonna skip, but there's a bit I want to read where he talks about how they would abduct him, and then, you know, like, for example, put probes in him and his nose would be bleeding, etc., etc. And this is something common when people are abducted. They get lots of inserts and chips put in them because they want to track them and keep they have technology that they can continuously read you. And a lot of that alien technology is becoming used every day now with all these devices and everything that we have. But the bit I want to read you, here we go. Right, I'm going to skip to page 22, where it talks about him. I'll go to 1-4. I want to go to 142. From then on, I knew who I was, my race. So he explains how they basically, okay, let me jump back because I'm just trying to make the most of the time. But let me go from 137. He said, in time, they took me. I was around 15 in 1960 AD. They saw I was doing bad things as a teenager. So they took me on the craft up and into a real big craft. I mean, really big. There I met my own race, right? So the race I showed before, I'll just read it and you remember the picture. I met my own race, Murzaku, Riskians, who are 9 feet tall, dark-skinned and kind eyes. 138, they taught me, yet I would nasoy, forget, or I thought I forgot things and went on as a teenager. I felt it were dreams. 139, by 1963 AD, I knew I was not like others, yet I did not want to be different. I drank wine, hung out with friends, ended up in reforming programs for 3 shamut at years. 1940. In 1967 AD, I was home and I was told to find Sheikh Dawood. He would tell you what you are. I found him at 143 State Street, 141. He told me I was there in 1957 AD. Show me my paperwork and said, Brother Omar brought you here. 142. From then on, I knew who I was. My Salah race will come. 143. I was told your Ranan name is Yanun. This is your sister Zatra and brother Kuwitani. 144. I was taken to our planet, Marzak, Risk, in Ma'alan, Ilion. I saw so much, and they downloaded 76 trillion years of their time into my mind. I knew things. You know, like the Matrix, download me. You know Kung Fu? Yeah. So they downloaded 76 trillion years of info into him. And 145, one night I was walked home from work in Brooklyn. I stopped by my sister's apartment, Waki. Yaya and Big Guitar, they were there. When I left on my way from subway, a tall Mukwan being came up beside me. 147. He was not touching the ground, dressed in all khamim, black, with a black beard. 148. He told me he was Al-Qadir and that he will ba'a, soul into mine, that I will become a teacher of many. 149. He spoke Arabic, and at that time I did not know Al-Qadir and Melchizedek were one and the same. 150. He's also called Galzu in Sumeria and the Hutui in Mahmat, Egypt. In time, he made it all clear. He said, 151, he said, you will have many visitors over time, and when you think to know a thing, it will come to you. Just speak it. He will speak by way of you. Your life will be hard. Stay with it no matter what. 152. This is my story. I have so much more I can add, yet they are speaking in my head now, saying, that is enough for now. 153. I'm starting to feel so tired, so very tired. I will lay down now. 154. I'm up. I fell out right here by the way of the earthlings killed Sa'at in Australia and the other 2 in America in 2015 AD. 155. I'm really blessed to be used in this way most of my life. 156. I am the Ancient of Days. 157. I have seen Tapalat, worlds born and worlds die. Mekhabat, planets born and planets die. These eyes have seen so very much. This Akal mind knows so very much. 159. I did ask them why they landed in Kentucky. They said it being used for thousands of years, Shamut years. 160. The mountains and coverings are so great and the clouds over the forest are good. They said many Munjamu, star people, come and go from there and other places. They were from beneath Orion's belt. Okay, I mean, I can go on and on, but he goes on to explain that Mount Shasta, which again, a lot of, when you start watching the age of disclosure, okay, they go there and people go there because they know it's highly active in terms of extraterrestrial beings. Okay, so then it goes on to talk about how they put the me stone when he went to one of these meetings in Mount Shasta. But I need to move on. There's so much. Like I said, I'm probably gonna, because it is a lot to take in. I'm gonna probably have to do several parts of this. So the alien disclosure, you can just search on Google now. The USA and the American government have disclosed a lot now. For years they were hiding and denying it. Let me just jump to, okay, so this movie is called The Age of Disclosure. It's a documentary. You have to see it because it talks about the journey of how they went about to start. We know that our ancestors are compelling them because the Galactic Federation, in order for this planet to evolve and for us to start to be a part of the galactic community, because with every planet, you get to a point where you evolve to a point where you have to start to be bigger than where you're at, just stuck in the planet, knowing that there's a vast cosmos out there. So these extraterrestrials, these beings from other galaxies, they've been preparing us and preparing people to embrace that, because for the last 6,000 years, people have been under the spell of religion and just thinking we are the only life form on this planet in such a vast cosmos. So they've been given technologies and visiting certain people in you know, high-powered positions like presidents and so on and so forth. So this movie documentary actually goes through the process of how they've got to the point where now these UFO files are being disclosed. Please use the mic.
I keep asking myself the question.
The mic's not on. Can we just leave it on? Because people keep forgetting to turn it back. Let's just leave it on.
Okay.
Right, go ahead.
When is the, how can I say? When is there going to be unlimited energy? Because I thought by the year 2000 we would have unlimited energy, and therefore money would become meaningless.
Yes, we are building up to these things, but it's part of what I'm going to cover. But we are building. This is what we're saying. Like when you really start to look at how people have been kept in the dark for so long, it's because things like money is a construct that is used to control people. Because you have to pay for free energy. You know, you have to pay for things that you're not really supposed to pay for, because it's all about the people that have been running the planet. Because it's about capitalism. It's about profits. It's about control. It's about, you know, taking things. Because what happened, I'm going to go into, like I said, this is a big subject. Yeah, a lot of the people that were working in these government programs that have been hidden, because people leave and they change, they take some of the technologies and then they take it into the industry world, into the capitalist world, and they then use those technologies to make money and then control other people. Whereas, you know, people like Nikola Tesla and many people
Okay.
were talking about this because he himself, he's an alien. He's an extraterrestrial. So there are many things to be disclosed. That's what I'm saying. But of course, they're not going to disclose and tell you everything all at once. So let me carry on, because we're gonna touch on that. So if you watch this movie, yeah, The Age of Disclosure, you will find out the whole process of them going through, the people that were like, we can't keep lying to everyone. We got to tell them the truth. Okay, so there are, touching on your question, Elder, there are things called, they're like about 5 or 6 things called the observables, right? Meaning that when people that knew about this information were starting to look into it, they realized there was a program called the Legacy Program, right? We're going to look at that in a minute. The Legacy Program was run by, like I said, from about around in the 40s, mid 40s, where they've been gathering information for over 80 years. They've got over like hidden information that was hidden and not disclosed to the public. Things like actual alien bodies that were discovered, and that you will find in our books. The master put the pictures of this back then, right? Things like, you know, the biggest secret has been to hide UAPs or UFOs from the public. And the observables are like, number one, it's something called hypersonic velocity. Hypersonic velocity is like how these crafts operate. Yeah. So if you think about it, the fastest craft they have on the planet right now would travel like, let's say, you know, some of these jets. What was that?
Stealth.
Yeah, no, yeah, stealth, but stealth is even obsolete a little bit now. But what's that movie like Top Gun? What's his name?
Tom Cruise.
Yeah, but what's the flights they were flying? Like jets, they scrambled jets, right? But anyway, they go at the fastest 4,600 miles per hour. The crafts that they've been seen recently, they travel at 40,000 miles per hour. So when we're saying hypersonic velocity, that's what we're saying, like how a craft can travel at that speed. Then you have something called instantaneous acceleration. You know, when you watch these crafts, like they're watching them and they will just go and just go. Like that type of acceleration instantly, there is no craft human made on the planet that can do that. Yeah, so it's like if you think of a plane, when the plane is trying to do a maneuver to turn around, it kind of goes like this and then turns like this and then goes all around and then it turns the direction. These crafts, they can go so far, stop and turn at 90-degree angles. So they can go like that. Is again something that it's alien, yeah? And they can do that traveling at speeds of like 10,000 times faster. Now, if you think about that, your body is held together by your atoms and the nutational rate that your different components are held at. So you got your physical body, you got your spiritual body, you got your plasmatic body. I need to slow down. I've got so much information. I think sometimes if I'm going too fast, please do let me know. But the G-force will pull you apart if you traveled at like those speeds, you see. So even when you travel on a plane, a lot of people get what they call jet lag. And even in the plane, what it is an atmosphere has been created inside. So even though the plane is traveling really fast, when you're inside the plane, it feels like yeah, exactly. So these crafts have environments, and we're going to get into the technologies as well, because they use warp speed and they use something called a bubble, and you know, it's all based on contraction and expansion and how they manipulate time, matter, and space. Okay, so that's number 2. Then you have number 3, which is low observability, which literally means like these crafts can go from traveling in the air and go into water and come out, and when they go into the water, it doesn't affect the signatures of the water. It does, you know, like if you threw something in the water, you get some kind of ripple. Or, yeah, it doesn't happen. And their crafts have been shown to go into water, come from the air, go into water, come back out, and there's no change to the signatures of the atmosphere. Okay, so there's no like exhaust pipe. If you look at combustion, engines and stuff like that, there will be like, you see the chemtrails all the time. You see an exhaust pipe will leave smoke, so they don't have any of that. Then I mentioned already the transmedium, which transmedium travel, where they can go through walls, they can go through any type of material, and it won't change or affect that matter. Then of course, anti-gravity. They defy the natural laws of Earth's gravity without any repulsion, and it doesn't affect the wind, nothing. Like they could be in a volcano and they can be still or stationary. And then the last thing is the biological effects that happen to people who are abducted or that are close in that proximity to these technologies or these crafts, because they're using so much technology that your physical body may not. It's just like if you were like near a rocket launching, the amount of radiation and energy that will affect you if you're very close to it. It's the same when people get abducted. So anyway, the movie Disclosure goes through how a task force was set up, and in order to tell the people, tell humanity, they had to think about what impact it's going to have. Like you're just saying, economics, because that's the first thing they worry about. Like, if people know what's really going on, are they going to start wilding out? Are they going to not, like, if there's no accountability or you're not afraid of this God or someone that's going to punish you, how will people behave or act? Because for years they've been told, you've got to behave and be like this so that you can go to hell or heaven if you misbehave, right? So they had to test and see, with certain things, it's called social experiments. Like, let's stop people going out for a while and see what they'll do. And people went crazy over toilet paper. Like, people were fighting for basic things. So it has taken time. So the task force basically forced the government or Congress to put out a UFO report. And some of them are unclassified now. Some are still classified. So it's time. They have to give it to you in stages. But they definitely admit that they don't know about certain things. They don't know about what's going on. But the master teacher has been here saying, I'm an extraterrestrial and I know. But because of the color of his skin, his freckles are too close together. They don't want to receive it. And unfortunately, everything he has been saying since he's been here has come to pass. And it's still coming. There's more coming. Go ahead, sis. I know there's some people online. I know time's going. I'm gonna open it up for questions soon.
I wanted to ask, why don't they come here down and explain it themselves, like show that they are, because we don't see God and we don't really see these extraterrestrials unless they
You do
pop
see
up.
God.
No, say that again.
You do see God.
No, but based on what you guys teach, right?
What do we teach?
That we don't see him.
We don't teach that. I just told you do see God. So how can you say we teach that you don't see him? Should I tell you how you see God?
Yes, please explain that to me.
You look in the mirror every day and see God.
Okay, I'm not talking about that though. I'm talking
Right,
about,
so you're talking about the one that doesn't
Christian
exist.
God. Yes.
But it doesn't exist.
Right. So that's where I'm getting my question. That's where I'm trying to form my question from. The God that doesn't exist, the one in Christianity, right? He's not real.
He's not even a he.
Pardon?
He's not even a he. But carry on.
Okay.
Finish your question.
Right. So why don't these extraterrestrials, aliens, or whatever you want to call them, just come down and, you know, reveal themselves?
They have. This is what this
Unless
whole
they
exercise.
have, but not in a way where, okay, the main place in America is the White House. So when different like politicians from different countries
Right.
come to America, they go to the White House, they sit down with the president and they speak or whatever. So that's what I mean.
No, what I'm saying to you is, they've been here from the beginning. They've been living with us, amongst us, and some of them, yeah, have been exposing themselves, but there were agreements made with them because they were like, we have to wait till the people on the planet are ready. Yeah? So every time people saw them or someone had an encounter, right, they started to call them close encounters, like close encounters of the first kind, second kind, third kind, fourth kind, and now we're going into the fifth kind. Yeah? You have to study what the differences are, but it's like someone saw something, then it moves to not only you saw it, but you then got abducted, and then, you know, there are different levels. So when you watch the movie The Fourth Kind, that is an incident that actually took place in Alaska, Nome, Alaska, right? Which is 6 months out of the year in darkness. And they did come and they have been abducting people. And because some of these agreements were made with them, like the same thing we were saying with the Pleiadians, saying, stop eating us, we're going to give you a substitute. They've been eating humans, some of these reptilians, because that's what they like. They feed off of human as well. And so agreements were made to say, look, stay out, don't scare everyone, don't come out too soon because people are not ready for it. But you can take food. They made an agreement that they could take 300,000 a day, but they got to a point where they're now taking more and they're breaking their agreements, and now it's getting out of control. And some of them are now starting to come out, but it has to be done in a way. Imagine you walk down Croydon and saw a reptilian just walking down the road, like one of the ones I showed you. What do you think people would do?
Freak out.
They'll freak out, right? So imagine that all around the world. So it has to be done in a controlled way. So that's why I said to you that they've got information through these the program called the Legacy Program, where they've been hiding information for 80 years. And part of that was to say, discredit anyone, right? They've actually, I'm going to show you the Legacy Program in a minute because I'm conscious of time. Like I said, I'm going to probably carry on with this in the next class. But so they are here. It's just that it's been hidden and now it's coming out because we have to evolve and they can't hold it and lie to people anymore, you know. So going back to the question about God, God is an extraterrestrial. This is the reality. The people or the beings that you're talking about that you're calling God, I see, brother, where you say angels and Jesus and God is in a place called heaven. When you start to actually think about it, where is heaven?
In the sky.
In the sky. Where in the sky? Because the further you go up, you've been on a plane, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, that's just my alarm. Just turn. You've been on a plane. You're in the sky, right? Did you see God?
No, but
No,
you
because
know
he's.
that's not what they're talking about, though.
Who's they?
When Christians say, "Oh, heaven is in the sky,"
That's what they're
whatever.
talking about.
No, they're talking about past this because you know.
Okay,
there's
to where?
Well, that part they never can answer.
No, but it's in the Bible. They tell you. They say Arcturus,
Different levels.
Pleiades, yeah, Orion. It's just the language you're reading it in English. You're not seeing, like if it's in Greek, they're saying Oranos, which is the word for Orion, which is a constellation. Tahuti, your mic's mute.
I have one. Just grab your phone and take a picture.
Tahuti, your mic, please mute your
Come
mic.
have to come then. Just go take a
Tahuti, if you don't mute your mic, we're going to... Okay, I'll take you off. Right, so, yeah, so it's coming out. You're going to see, and they are going to show themselves. A lot of these files that have come out recently, they're talking about these beings going to these parties, and they like eating children, and because of the, they like I tried not to say it, but you said it for me anyway. But like, the Roswell, that's what I was saying to you. Like, we're gonna go. I'm touching on a lot today because this is just the first of.
I'm sorry, so Ken, you've muted yourself on Zoom.
Okay, am I back?
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
what I'm saying to you, like, when the Roswell crash happened, this program was set up, and what the whole thing is to try and deny everything, admit nothing, make counter accusations, put false accusations, and intimidate people, ridicule people, and just deny, and say it doesn't exist. But yet, they had places like Area 51, and many. You have to go back to the presidents that were in power at the time, like Eisenhower and Truman. They came and visited these people, and so they started to trade with them. But it became about protect the public and protect the secrets, and you have to have security clearance and certain things to know, or to even, so like you have agencies, people that would work in some of these things, Bob Lazar, and there are many people, whistleblowers now, that are talking about this. So it was all about, I'm going to let you answer.
So
It was all about,
from what I understand, they only visit people of power and people.
no, they visit all people all around the world. Many people have had extraterrestrial experiences, or, like they just don't talk about it because, they've been made to feel like they're crazy. Yeah. But what we're saying is, in order for us to be able to travel interstellar, now be able to travel to different galaxies and learn about the bigger universe and the cosmos, we have to use these technologies that they have, because they can travel interstellar. They use something called, as I was saying to you before, like warp bubble, where the reason they're able to do that is because they have like a bubble, and their crafts are inside the bubble, and that bubble is controlled from within the craft inside of it, and the bubble is able to change and travel at speeds, and that's why it's almost like creating a completely different atmosphere that has nothing to do with the physical one. So to be able to travel interstellar, to be able to break the space-time barrier, and able to deal with like the fact that they can't, the radar doesn't pick them up, So these are all technologies, when people are taken, they talk about missing time, because once you go into that atmosphere that's within, you're no longer affected or subjected to the laws of the atmosphere outside. Go ahead, Zamal, you were going to ask a
I was
question.
just going to say, if you read the first page of it's got the extraterrestrial, just the first
Yeah,
section.
in fact, I had it here, and I just haven't
Just the
got
first
to
section, just read that
Yeah,
section.
it's right here. And I've still got a gazillion slides, but let's read that. I'm going to run through a few things, and then I'm going to stop there and get some questions and general questions. Yeah, so the first part in the introduction, it says, is God an extraterrestrial? To what I just said to you. First, let me make it clear that we are running out of time, and I don't have the time to try and convince you that extraterrestrials are real. This was in the 90s, remember, yeah? I don't have time to convince you that your concept of God is all wrong. I've come here to do a job, and I'm going to do it regardless, because time is running out. One thing is for sure. When I told you that no one wins the race in racism, I meant it. We've got those t-shirts upstairs, by the way. What I was trying to tell you, is it's not a black or a white thing, it's a grey thing. Meaning extraterrestrials, or what they refer to as greys, are under the control of reptilians and have come to this planet and have taken control right under your nose. Principalities in high places know this, but they're not telling you, and they're not going to tell you. It doesn't matter what color your skin is. So when you ask, I'll say, very good question. Is God an extraterrestrial? When you hear the name God, you think of some supreme being up there in the heavens or skies, far away, sitting on a throne, surrounded by a heavenly host, often called angels. This is what religions teach. You can read that in Psalms 45:6, Matthew 5:3, and the Quran 2:255. You think of God as an unquestionable, infallible ruler with power to merely wave his hands and things come into existence or are destroyed. Genesis 1:1, Mark 13:19, Quran 2:117. Sounds a lot like a superhero action figure to me. That is the kind of God that people are worshipping. In biblical times, it's Theos to the Christians, Yahweh to the Jews, and Allah to the Muslims, and God to many others. In modern times, it's extraterrestrials. Although I've been saying this for years, now that the articles are popping up all over the place, you'll begin to believe me. Extraterrestrial beings were responsible for creating humans, and most of the Bible characters that mysteriously appear and disappear were extraterrestrials as well. When you take a better look at the scriptures, and that is the Bible of the Christians and the Quran of the Mohammedans, not merely in their translated form, as the King James Version of the Bible, or the Yusuf Ali translation of the Quran, and look at that language, Hebrew, Arabic, and Greek, you get a much better understanding of what and who the God of these books, the Old Testament, the New Testament, and the Quran is. The God of the Muslims sits on a throne in Quran 2:255. He gets angry in the Old Testament. He sits and talks to Moses on Mount Sinai. He tells the chosen children of Israel that he is jealous. So you better not have any other gods but me. In Exodus 34:14, in the New Testament, that wonderful place up there that you will be rewarded for doing good here on earth, in biblical time was called heaven. In modern times is Orion. Thus, when you say above, the Old Testament in Aramaic Hebrew, the heaven is Shamayim, meaning up there or skies, with a plural ending. When you say the heavens in the New Testament, in the Greek you get Oranos, meaning the heaven of the skies, or simply Orion skies. When you say heaven in the Ashuric, Syriac, Arabic of the Quran, you get Sama or Samawati. Again, you get clouds or up there. None of them can or do give you the exact place for heaven, except the Greek, the Orion constellation, which you find in Job 9:9, 38:31, and Amos 5:8. You think of God as a compassionate, all-loving father figure. In the Hebraic beliefs, he makes himself appear to those selected prophets like Noah and Abraham, and even Abraham's wife, Sarah. He comes down from heaven. You can go to Genesis 11:5. He predicts physical events such as the birth of Isaac, Genesis 17:19. He sits, Psalm 47:8. He drinks, Genesis 18:3:1 to 18 and 7. He eats the flesh of cooked dead animals, Genesis 18:8. He told her he would return in 9 months, Genesis 18:14. He even drinks wine and eats flesh of the very creatures of who he has created. Not to mention, he even likes the smell of burning carcasses, disguised under the name sacrifice. He walks in the cool of the day. So he also has physical feelings or senses, Genesis 3:8. He talks, so he has a voice box, Deuteronomy 5:29. He even regrets, as in the case of regretting creating human beings, Genesis 6:5 to 6. which are supposedly in his image and after his likeness. Genesis 1:26-27. In some cases, he's even satisfied with his own creations. He changes his mind, as in the case of Abraham, when Abraham convinced Almighty God not to destroy the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah on behalf of one righteous person. Genesis 18:23-28. He takes land from one nation of people whom he created, such as the Canaanites and the land of Canaan, and gives it to another nation of people like the Israelites. Genesis 12:1-5. He parts the waters, as in the case of Exodus, on behalf of one nation of people whom he created, and to the people of the same family, being the Egyptians, are merely descendants of Mitzrayim, who was Ham's son, the son of Noah, and drowns them. Genesis 14. This being that you are calling God is not emotionally stable. He's enough to be called the supreme creator of the universe. He's too easily swayed, sounds too much like a human to me than the ultimate giver and taker of life. Whether the layman knows it or not, people are no longer going for the religious rhetoric that has been passed down to them for 6,000 years. In the case of the Old Testament, 2,000 years old. In the case of the New Testament and Quran, 1,400 years in the case of the Quran. A time when people didn't know and would believe anything that was thrown at them. Now people have right knowledge and are well aware and have portable computers with online Bibles and dictionary references, where whatever is said to them can be looked up on the spot, where they can determine through the rhetoric. You may not like what I'm saying, however, you better take a look around and see what direction the world is heading in. Then ask your religious leaders to explain to you extraterrestrials and their origin. Ask them to explain to you what happens to the dreams and hopes of paradise or heaven if a comet or meteorite hits the planet Earth and wipe out all existence as we know it. Where is God in that? Okay, I'm going to stop there. And I'm telling you, as I go through these classes, because he's telling us about meteorites are going to hit in 2032. Everything he tells us in advance, you see. So, like I said, there's so much we're going to share and disclose. My battery's running out. Right, let me just plug. Right, I'm going to go through a couple more slides, and then I'm going to open up for questions and answers because I know time is of the essence. So, so this is what you can do. Just search, and in that documentary movie, The Age of Disclosure, these are credible people that work in government, that are experts, they're in Congress, and they were all part of this disclosure. And you see this craft. This is one of the files. The Pentagon it's got reports now, and they're showing you more and more sightings. All right. This guy here, he's one of the people that kind of got it all going because he used to work in all of the departments. Like, it was in the Navy, it was a soldier, but they started this program called ARTIP, which is Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, which is basically how they kind of got to this disclosure. Okay, I think I'm gonna stop there, but I did want to touch on, as I said, the legacy program, but I think we kind of jumped around. Okay, maybe I'll save that for the next part. But I'm going to open up for questions. We will continue this subject. But who are we, why we're here? We have the solution to all the problems of the world. I know it's a big claim, but this is something we've been doing for over 50 years and still are. You might say that's a very bold statement, yeah? But that's why we ask everyone to ask us anything and to study and learn and do the research for yourself. We're teachers, we're not preachers. We don't preach, we teach. There's a big difference to going to church or going to a mosque and hearing a sermon. We don't really debate either, because once you have the truth, you don't need to debate anyone, because it's either true or it's not, you see, and we disseminate the knowledge, but you have to do the work to know, because if you just accept anything and everything I'm saying, you're literally becoming a believer. And that's what religions teach you to do, to believe, not to research. So I'm going to stop there for today, because I can see that it's a lot and people want to ask questions. I'm going to first of all look in the chat, because I'm sure there may have been comments or questions in the chat, and so I'm going to just stop sharing for a moment, and then let's see who's online. Wow, we have so many people online. I see Richard's got his hand up. So Richard, unmute your mic and ask your question, please. That's on Zoom.
Are you hearing me?
Yep, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
Yes, I've been having contact with the brothers in Brixton outside Iceland,
Yes.
and one of them told me about how the master said not to eat anything with eyes.
With parents.
So that's,
Anything with parents.
periods.
Parents. Parents.
Yeah, he related to me as anything with eyes, which is not to eat animals.
Yeah.
So that's veganism.
Tour.
So
Yes.
I don't know how serious the Nawapians are about veganism.
Yeah, we
Not
literally.
eating animals and not wearing leather. Because I noticed the brother was wearing leather shoes.
We didn't say we can't wear them. We said we can't eat. We shouldn't eat them. But anyway, so what's your question? Because you haven't asked.
How strict the Nawapians are about veganism.
Okay. When you say Nuwapians, they're people. We're people, and people are at different stages in their development. So you may have just become a Nuwapian yesterday, and so you need time to transition, because you may not even have known that what you were eating was bad for you. So you have to look at the facts around diet, and we literally had a workshop today, part one of many to come, to help people transition from eating blood meat and flesh, because what you're eating is death, right? Why would you eat dead things when you're alive? And other people like Dr. Sebi and people that study nutrition, nutritionists and people that are into like what you put into your body, they've told you that you have things that are acidic and you have things that are alkaline. And when you study water, water has the perfect pH value. So it's alive. And if you want to stay alive, yeah, don't eat death, because it's bad for your health. Yeah? So you want to eat things that are alive if you want to survive. I should be a rapper, innit? Right? So I'm saying it's about knowing, like, when you eat things that are not good for you, they make you sick. Over time, you may not get sick straight away, but now, for myself, I know now, like, anytime I eat anything that is not good for me, I have a reaction immediately, and then I know I'm not eating that again. So you have to learn your body. You have to learn that not everyone is at the same stage, and some people have moved from just like being a meat eater of like, look, we are parents and people that eat meat. You know, assorted meat. You hear, I want fufu with assorted meat, and or whatever. You look at that plate, or like, I want an oxtail. Like, why are you eating the tail of an ox? But you don't think about it like that. You just like, yeah, give me cow foot, give me tripe, give me all these things that are dead, and the vibration is dead, and it holds you down on a lower vibration. It holds you down on a low vibration. So if you want to ascend, if you want to be able to tune into your spiritual being and the higher forms of your being, you have to stop eating dead stuff. Carcass, that's what you're eating.
meat is for people who eat meat are fallen angels. It's kind of like what the master is saying, that there are fallen angels. I think like there's an occultic.
Yeah, it's a
Fallen
reptilian.
angels.
It's from these reptilian beings that are flesh eaters. So they've made it the fabric of society that you have a meal if you don't have meat. Well, it's not even meat. Let's call it what it is. If you don't have dead flesh or animals, then it's like the meal is not complete, but it's not nutritious for you. Meals are supposed to be light and nutritious and to give you minerals, vitamins, and things that are going to help your engine, your body, because it's like you have a car. Would you put sand into the petrol tank? It's because it's not for it. So it's the same with your body. Like, you don't put things that don't help you to, be healthy and progress. So going back to your question, some people are still progressing. They become a vegetarian or they stop eating red meat. Some start to go to white meat and they wean themselves off. Others, the more benefits you get from changing your diet, you start to see that your mind is clear. And especially if someone eats pork, or like when you really study why you're eating pork, it makes no sense. Or any animal, but I'm just saying pork, if you study the pig was made from a cat, a rat and a dog. And so you're eating cat, rat and dog and licking your fingers like it's something good. So, the truth and the reality sometimes is harsh. But Dr. Sebi told us what to eat, because you get sick and you end up eventually getting cancers and all kinds of things. So, yeah, but you're not going to do it overnight. So it's down to you at the end of the day. We don't force anybody to do anything. It's the right knowledge is given. And if you choose to continue on wrong knowledge, that's your prerogative. But I see, like, let me just take the question online and then we'll come back to the class. Who's that with their hand up?
We have Bree after Richard G. Zamal.
Yeah, Richard was just speaking. So Richard, did I answer your question? Can we move on to someone else?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, go ahead, Bree. Rahubat.
Rahubat Zamal.
Rahubat, Zamal.
My question for today, yeah, my question for today is, it's just my curiosity, what happened when an extraterrestrial dies?
Nothing dies. This is the point. Like, energy cannot be destroyed. You transform, you transmute, and you just go back to a particular state or realm, or you just reincarnate over and over again. If you're not allowed or don't know the way out to move to the next realm. So some extraterrestrials, they only vibrate on the lower. So, okay, let me give you the realm. So we are in what we call the physical realm, or the material world, right? Where things are more dense. But you have other realms above that, and each one has many planes. So, like, you have the plane of force, which is a higher vibration or a faster density than the one we're in. Then you go into the spiritual plane, then you have the soul plane, and you have the mental plane. So you're in tune or connected to all of them at the same time. But if you don't kind of like learn, like what we were just talking about, change your diet and learn the things and do the spiritual practices, and you're not ready in terms of your vibration to go to the higher realms, you just keep looping and coming back here until you learn. Some of these animals can't go past certain realms. This is why eating flesh is not good either, because, like, you got humans that are actually mixed with the DNA of animals, and they can't go past the 6th ether. So when you look at it, it's ethers, right? And 9 is the highest ether, which then takes you to the higher realms. So when we say we're 9 ether beings, we sound like we're doing something great, because we look at the number 9 as being the highest number, but that's the lowest of 9 to the 9 power of 9. So the journey really is to get to that point. So extraterrestrials that are composed of certain vibrations can't go past that. Humans, like what we call the Adamites, they're bred with the Homo porcine, which is dealing with the pig, the Homo canine, which is dealing with the dog, and then they have the Homo. No, who's paying attention? See, look, okay. Simian, thank you. Right, but that means that you're limited to those vibrations, and so you're not able to go higher unless you piggy bank or someone that's 9 ether to take you to the higher realm. So yes, they don't actually go, they go to the lower vibrations. In fact, in the scrolls, even in the same scroll I mentioned before here, we're running out of time, but I give you all the ethers and who resides in what ether level and who can not go beyond a particular ether. So the Adamite's male, he's only 5 ether, and his mentality can only grow to the age of a 13-year-old. The females are 6 ether or Femi 6, and our Nagaru are Femi 9. You see, so it all depends on who you are, what you're composed of, and how far you're elevating. Does that make sense? And tata tirafu. Okay, we had 3 questions in the class.
I wanted to ask, I have 2 questions now. What about like fish in your diet? Because fish provides iron and protein. So, and it's not as dirty as the red meat.
It is. You know, I know
But
we all.
we get sea moss. We get sea moss from the sea.
Yeah.
Right. And the fish lives in the sea. It eats the sea moss and it eats everything from the sea.
Right.
Right.
But it's
So
still,
why wouldn't it be?
It's still got parents and it's still got blood and it's still not good for you because now there's a lot of oil spillages by the ships and that into the waters. So a lot of the fish are getting poisoned. This is why, even though it's better for you than the red meat and so on, it's still not good for you now. And what we do as humans, this is why the master teacher doesn't tell you what to do and hasn't written a book saying you must eat this and not that. He just tells you and you choose to or not. A lot of people that it's because the parasites in you are actually intelligent and they're fighting you to tell you to continue the lifestyle so that you can feed them. You see, so people will fight when you're telling them stop eating meat, like or fish, or stop eating things that are dead or things that are not good for you. But if you want to eat it, continue. You know, like no one's forcing you not to.
My other question is, tribes in different parts of the world who are not like they don't join in with like the outside world. They're more to themselves, right? They eat wild animals, right?
Yeah.
They eat meat.
So
And I'm saying, there's no one to educate them. Or
there
tell
is.
them.
We are.
No, but they don't know about you though.
How do you know that? Listen,
because these are tribes.
you can go to the most remote villages now, and they've got cell phones. More people are becoming like the world is not that big as we used to. I'm not saying there aren't, but just because you do something for thousands of years, doesn't mean it's good for you. And some of those tribes are actually descendants of extraterrestrials, and like for example, if you take like the Dogons, for example, or other tribes, they will tell you that beings used to come from the waters and the Nomos, and teach them. So some people have maintained traditions for thousands of years that have come from extraterrestrials that didn't mean them well, and they don't know that what they're doing is not right, because there are different types of extraterrestrials that are here. Like I said before, they're extraterrestrials that live in the waters. You know the sea, the ocean, 80% of it has not been explored.
Yeah, I know that.
So there are many extraterrestrial advanced civilizations under the deep, deep oceans that have been here for millions of years, have crafts, and the crafts were coming out of the water in some of these UFO files. So we're just getting to the time where we're going to learn more. But
So what do they eat in those ancient civilizations under the sea?
some people eat, like you say, seafood.
Yeah.
I don't mean like humans see food and eat it. Anything they see, they just eat. I'm talking about food that's in the sea.
I know.
Right? So they have their own diets. I mean, we evolved from the waters. So there are people that have a seafood diet, and there are people that have a land food diet. But as you grow and learn more, you have to know that, are you feeding your physical body, or are you feeding your spiritual body or your real body? Because that real body doesn't need, I see you, brother. Your real body doesn't, it needs nutrients, it needs energy, it needs things that are intangible. Your physical body, because you have a reptilian brain, and because people talk like, oh, protein, you need protein. And they say, if you don't eat meat, you're not going to get protein. But the protein is from the vegetation. Even the Bible tells you that. I think is in Genesis 1:29 or 3, I can't remember. It tells you that I have given you herbs and fruits for you to use as meat. There's no animal called meat. Humans made animals called meat, pigs and cows, and so it wasn't saying you should eat meat. So it's all about the distortion of the truth to make you do things like I was saying before, to feed the negativity in these reptilian beings that are part of our DNA. So you have to eradicate that DNA part of you and suppress it by not feeding it. So once you stop feeding it, the parasites and everything within you don't have that effect on your brain, and your actions come by way of your mind. So, you know, obviously some parasites, it's like you have agreeable and disagreeable stuff. You go get rid of the disagreeable ones, and the agreeable ones will help you. Go ahead, bro.
I think this might add to this
Please,
question.
use
Okay,
mine.
I think this might add. I think a few years ago in the 80s, where they said the value of the nutritional value of vegetables has decreased by 80%. Now I'm beginning to wonder, is that a false narrative, a way of deceiving us to go towards meat because the nutritional value of the vegetable has reduced?
Yeah, it has, because what you're getting a lot of now is GMO, genetically modified things. So even when you're eating fruit, which you may think is natural,
Yeah.
a lot of that is GMO. And a lot of things that don't come with seeds are not really natural.
Yes,
So now
that
you
one I agree with.
get seedless grapes.
Yes.
You know, so that obviously most people don't know what the real thing looks like anymore,
Yeah.
because of marketing, and because if you've never grown up seeing a real banana before, you don't actually know what a banana looks like.
Yeah, I was
So
talking-
you see those big yellow things that are about
Yeah.
this big, and you think that's a banana.
Like me, I don't eat the bananas here, but
Yeah.
when I go back to Nigeria, I eat them once there.
Right, exactly,
But
because they're this tiny.
they're smaller.
You see?
But what I'm
so you
saying,
have to source out where to get the proper stuff.
But what I'm saying is what they said about the land.
Yeah,
That
but-
the nutritional value of the land has decreased.
It has, because the
So it
seeds...
depends on where it is.
Yes.
But how the information is put out is as if it is general.
Of course, because...
So that's the deceptive part.
It is deception. That most people don't have land over here.
True.
So how you, and they go as far as, even when you have land, you still have to buy the seeds.
Yeah.
And the seeds are what? From who? Monsanto.
Yeah.
Which
So-
is Bill Gates and his... So that it's crazy that if you have land, but you still have to get the seeds. So if you get, like, you can go to Whole Food markets, or like farmers markets, you know, like, and when you get the real stuff, you collect seeds, and then you try to grow stuff for yourself. This is what we're teaching in this workshop, the Each One Teach One.
Yeah.
We did part 1 today, and in the coming months we're going to be going through the whole process, because we have sisters here that have been vegans for like 8 years and more, you know, and that not only being a vegan, but knowing what to eat, like how to make your own milk, like we did today, how to replace what you're calling meat with things like mushrooms.
Yeah.
But there are different types of mushrooms. Some are not good for you, some are poisonous, and some are good for you. People will say shiitake mushrooms are good, but they're not really that good.
So what we're saying here is that it's not the land in the whole world that has
No,
reduced in
no.
It's the deception of how they put it that makes people think, okay, this is not nutrition.
Think about this.
Yeah.
Certain things only grow in certain soil and climate.
Yeah.
So you can't get things grown here. Like the UK, in certain conditions, at certain seasons, you can't get stuff, but you still get it in a supermarket because they say they're importing it. But they import things, and by the time you get it, it's no longer fresh. And so it's either made in laboratories, or it's by the time it gets to you, it's just been made to look like it's fresh. So to kind of put it encapsulate it in one summary, is we say you eat the best of the worst. Because you can't totally, unless you're able to have your own land, your own seeds, and the right soil, and that's why when we had our own land, which was stolen from us because we allowed it to happen, we had over 476 acres of land, and we had everything. We were self-sufficient, and we were growing our own food, etc., etc. When you do that and you kind of disrupt the status quo, they don't like that. So really, we're looking back home to our countries of origin, like Africa, and to start to till the land and grow our own foods and do our own things.
I can attest to that. Going home to Nigeria for 1 month,
Yeah.
with the condition I had for 10 years, made it go down to like nothing.
Yeah.
And only coming back here for it to come back again.
I've known people that have done
A lot of people have known
fasting.
people that-
Just fasting will help you, but it's like, can you fast for 40 days, 72 days? You do that and you get rid of most of the ailments. That's if you haven't allowed it to get to a point where it's beyond return.
It's like beyond return. But it took
So
me
when
going
people
to
want to
the country.
continue eating meat and fish and all these things, it may not happen overnight, but no, the long term, it's going to have the ramifications. All right, how are we doing for time? Because let me check the chat. People on Clubhouse, I'm not sure if anybody wants to. Oh, we got Tequila wants to come up. Let me bring you up onto the stage. You may unmute and ask your question, Tequila.
Hi, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Tua, Rahubat, doing good. How are you?
But I'm alright. Well, I don't want to say too much, but I actually was in the army, and I've had just a lot of interesting spiritual experiences. I didn't necessarily have a question, but I can think of something. I guess what should I look out for? Because I noticed that they took a lot of genetic samples, and I've been having a lot of dimensional travel problems. Like I can't necessarily take my dreams with me. I can't necessarily remember astral projection. Like I don't astral project out of my body anymore. So I'm just kind of wondering what like I should look out for. Like I've kind of figured some stuff out, but I'm worried about the past 10 years. Like I've seen reality break apart in front of me, and like people glitching out. Like I don't want to say white people, but yeah, basically white people. So yeah, I'm kind of. I feel like I broke reality in my neighborhood, and I'm just kind of like wondering where that would be on your list of, I don't know, if you've ever experienced something like that, or what I should look out for. That's kind
Yeah,
of
I mean, we don't really talk too much about people's personal or individual experiences. However, you just got to start as a baby from scratch and just start implementing the things we teach. We have a series of scrolls called Patarok, which is the way that covers. They're very tiny, very small. Have a lot of them here that they cover. Just showing you a few. They cover everything to get you back on the right way, and it may take time, but you have to just try and start to implement them. And if you have a community or a store near you, you need to start going there so that you can speak to other brothers and sisters, because there are many people that may have had a similar experience as yourself that can help you. But ultimately, do your best, and once the master teacher is out, which can be anytime soon. It's imminent. You know, if you're ever fortunate, like once you start to raise your vibration, there's something we do or have the ability to do, which is to connect with him. And you know, you can meet him if he allows you, if he welcomes you, then you can meet him on a spiritual realm. But he will be out physically, and you know, he'll be able to help you. He's the master. I'm saying, like, he has the ability. If you read, I don't know why I didn't bring that book. There's a book. Oh, here we go. There's a book called of all the books I didn't mention, my brother, the Extraterrestrial, where, you know, you read accounts of people that have had what you're talking about, and he's been able to, he can touch you, he can do wonders. So most of us, we want to work our way to being in his presence so that we can get, you know, what we need, that healing that he's coming with in his wings. All right?
No, that helps. Yeah, I notice when I'm closer to people that my experiences are amplified, so that makes sense.
Yeah, but all that astral projecting and all those things, you notice when you stop eating meat and those types of things, maybe not directly referring to you, but that helps. And, you know, you get your pineal gland, and like there's so much that's going on in terms of, you know, the water that we're drinking, the plastics, the fluoride that they put in toothpaste and in the water. All of these things, they diminish your being. Your third eye getting shut down. So, okay, the sister at the back, how are we doing for time? Wow, we've gone over time already. But no, go ahead, it's fine. I'm going to read the comments. Please use the mic. Remember, we have people online that need
It's
to.
more reflecting on what you're saying, because I mean, with this brother here, obviously he sounds like he's a multi-dimensional being. Like, this is what you're teaching us that we are, and you know, we're getting our powers back. And so when you say
I don't think the mic's on. Is it on?
Oh, no. Okay. Hello?
There you go.
Okay, yeah, I was saying, well, just reflect on what you were saying to this brother now. I think obviously he's a multi-dimensional being, and this is the time that we're coming into with our ascension, with
That's
everything
right.
that we've learned. Well, our consciousness is expanding, and even with the disclosure, that's down to us raising our frequency. So everything has to be exposed. So I think
That's
I
right.
think the brother needs more like
Yeah, that's
guidance
what
and
I said to him.
understanding that
Look,
he has power more than, you know, when you drink water, when you eat meat, that it's going to affect. I think he's stepping into his own power, and he's seeing this is everything that we're teaching. So I believe the master teachers taught us about
absolutely.
understanding our power and where we come from, because we are bigger, and so we need to take back our power. So sometimes when we're saying,
right, but there's also discipline, and, you know, there's certain information that can't be given to you in public. It's going to be on a, just what I'm saying. So
yeah,
you're
and
right.
you will find that obviously in himself. Like if he just sits and meditates or learns to listen to his body, because you just at a different frequency more than most. But that would just reflect on that. But my question I'm wanting to ask is about, you know, talking about the alien disclosure, like how, yes, it's good knowing, like, you know, the speeds of the crafts and stuff like that, but how is all of this really affecting us now? Like, what can we do now as people? Because yes, this information
You just said it
is
is the consciousness you're rising to learn and know who you are. But this is just the first part. There's so much more to go. We literally have scratched the surface. And sometimes people think they know or have got it, but they really don't have a clue, meaning that they're still babies. There's so much information the master is still yet to teach. And that's why you have to become very studious. And it's not just about the knowledge and the information as well. It's about the transformation. So you're right, that raising your consciousness and being guided on how to use your powers to the point where you can regain your barothry gland, which is your 4 higher senses. That's your telepathy, intuition, psychometry, and clairvoyance. All these things, you have to be taught and trained on how to use them. But it starts with the basics of cleaning yourself inside out, and then working your way into being in order by way of the orders and the discipline that you're taught, because many are called and few are chosen. All right. We've run out of time. We're definitely going to quickly read the chat, because I know people in the Zoom have been also putting some comment. So let me just quickly do that and then we can round off. Okay, how do you reconcile the Bible, Israelites with Sumerians? Are they one and the same? Are they ancient aliens? The Bible is taken from the stories of the Sumerians, but there are different types of Sumerians. So, when you say reconcile the Bible comes from the books from the Sumerian tablets, the Gilgamesh Epic and the Enuma Elish. I'm going to go through these quickly. That's for you, Adnana, Paula. What's the next question? What do you think about plasma-like UAPs or extraterrestrial that seem to morph and fade in and out of reality? That's what I was saying, that they're actually in these bubbles. They create a different atmosphere, so they can control that bubble to the point where they can lower or increase the density, so they can be in one dimension in one moment and the next minute they disappear, because they can actually morph into the different environments. Okay, and what's the second part? Interdimensional beings or entities using their conscious. Yeah. Next question, Emmanuel Chukwunonsu. Why is the disclosure being whitewashed, not ever mentioning any black extraterrestrials, only mainly talking about the Pleiadians, Greys and reptilians? That's what I'm saying, because they try to ignore the extraterrestrial that's with us and has been with us, and they know why. This is why they've actually incarcerated him and have locked him up, to try and keep him away. But of course, we're still waking up worldwide because he's already done his job. Okay, another one. Ray, I'm skipping your questions because, I know you come on the Tuesdays live regularly, and I just want to touch on the people that haven't had a question answered. Will the government disclose black extraterrestrial races also, or will they? We are doing it. We are those races, and we've been telling you about the alien partner Yanun that is already here. So whether they do it or not, we're disclosing it. They know who we are. They are the synagogue of Satan, as the Bible says exactly. Those are those Jebusites that are part of this Luciferian conspiracy. That's why they're trying to stop you from knowing who you are, because they know who our ancestors are, and that we're coming back into our own once we receive this information and get reactivated. Wow, there's a long, okay, I'm not gonna do that. The deal between Pleiadians, okay, that's long. Okay, Tawukum Wasa, we have to leave it there. We'll carry on in the next class, and I'm going to carry on with this until we cover most of the real disclosure. So, alien disclosure part 1 and part 2. The next time I teach, I want to thank you all. Say, Port Kawun and Wadu.
Wadu.
And look out for part 2 of Each One Teach One, in terms of your transition from eating dead flesh to eating live foods, all right? That will be posted when the next one will be available. That will help you tremendously. All right, Wadu.
Wadu.
Wadu TikTok family, Wadu YouTube family, Wadu
Have a great day.
Clubhouse, you too. You all have a great day. All right. Tawakkum.
Ashok.
Ashok.